Just he has a lot of trust built up, and they knew that they could depend on Jim to give his unvarnished opinion and views on things, and they knew that he would bring a different perspective from the player side, from the basketball side that they needed, and so they brought him aboard. And again, not a conventional thing, not something that you've seen many other teams do at all, but I think it just speaks to sort of the status that he has here. And as I wrote, I mean, you can argue, and I don't even think it's much of an argument, that I think Jim Peterson has more credibility in this market than the Wolves do as an organization.
It's true.
There was no really clear-cut option for them to go to internally for the basketball side of the equation. They have the interim coach. They have Scott Layden, who's the GM, in name only now, and all of those things. So they can't be the ones that they rely on. They needed someone with a little different perspective, and Jim gave them to them.
I know you've heard a lot of stories and written about some of them. We, certainly heard probably through you, if I remember correctly, that there was a time when Tibbs basically just, banished Jim Peterson, told everybody, hey, don't talk to this guy, don't give him anything, don't do anything. I also heard a story where Scott Layden went down there to rip into Jim Peterson before a game with the entire production crew around him, and Jim Peterson basically looked at him and said, get away from me, you got no power. So it's quite a change to go from the way Layden and Tibbs treated Jim Peterson to the way this group, Ethan Casson, is treating Jim Peterson.
Yeah, it is. It's different, and like that's the thing like that I think hurt that regime as much as any is like they didn't understand the enemies that could be made, that didn't need to be made. I mean, all they had to do, they didn't have to invite Jim into their meetings, into their war room, into their planning sessions. I think just giving him a little bit of access to allow him to do his job better, first of all, and then also just to establish a little bit of a connection would have gone a long way. And I mean, there are several people in the organization where these guys just didn't do their homework on who they need for allies and who has Glenn Taylor's ear and who is influential even if you don't know it or don't understand it or don't even agree with it. Every organization has those people that that either you have to deal with or you just understand, okay, this person has a big stick here. Let's figure, let's connect. Let's build a bridge. Let's become allies. And they didn't do that. And that, it's just been, that was one of their downfalls is, the blatant disregard for people and the unbelievable lack of doing their homework on the organization that they were walking into. It's just, it's the reason that they're out now and that someone else is coming in.
And I believe it was, from my view, it was maybe more arrogance than ignorance.
It could have been, yeah. That might have been the case. I don't know for sure, where to draw that split between, how much of it was arrogance and how much of it. But yeah, there was certainly a lot of, we know what we're doing. You guys just sit back and enjoy it and watch the wind start rolling in. I always, I worry about this with all organizations when I see it. Like, if you're worried about what Jim Peterson is saying on the air, which again, he's not negative. He's not ripping people. He's just being honest and candid. If you're worried about that, if you're the Wild and you're worried about the media stepping on the logo in your locker room, like you're worried about the wrong things. If you're Paul Fenton and you're worried about how did this injury thing get out? Who's saying that? You're worried about the wrong things. And, for a group that preached, we're going to focus on basketball and we're going to focus on wins and losses and the rest will take care of itself. They did not do that. They didn't allow that to happen. They were very thin-skinned. They were very paranoid about some things. And in the end, those are you can see early when those things start coming up that these guys are not going to last long. It's the same. I mean, I'm speaking out of school here, but I can't see Paul Fenton lasting long the way
Nope.
that he's conducting things now.
Nope.
Like, that's just not going to happen. And so to kind of conduct yourself this way and that way, it was startling to me. I mean, it just takes some education. It just takes some perspective and realization on what the world is like now to understand that you can't manufacture enemies. There's plenty of them out there for you as they are. And if you manufacture them, they're just going to, I mean, it's going to be death by 1,000 cuts. And that's what happened.
And I guess the reason I shade it more toward arrogance than ignorance, while I'm sure it's both, is I felt like they came in and their entire attitude was, this organization is so horrible that any success we have is going to validate us and give us complete power, and everybody's going to have to kiss our rings and just thank us for being here, not realizing that Flip had built something up that they were taking over. There was there was talent here. There was some optimism here. The owner, while he's made some bad decisions, maybe a lot of bad decisions, is willing to fund it. I mean, there was, instead of viewing it as, okay, this is an opportunity to take something, a scaffolding here and build upon it, it was, okay, we're taking over. We're not stupid like everybody else in this organization is and has been. Just get out of our way. Everything's going to be great. That was a bad approach, even if it was somewhat true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, look, yeah, they certainly had reason to come in and look around and say, the priorities have been misplaced or the mistakes have been made, and we need to make a lot of changes to how this organization does business to turn around 15 years of losing. And they were right in some of that, and there's no doubt about it. But I think the miscalculation was, you need to build something that's going to be sustainable for the long haul. And so, one playoff run where you win one game isn't going to be enough to convince everyone that you have all the answers. And so when you have that, and then when you also you don't build the allies within the organization, then the minute you stumble, there's going to be people not there to catch you. And they stumbled badly last summer, and had they built better relationships, it would have been much easier for them to pawn it off on Jimmy and say, this is the bad guy. He's the one that screwed us. So let's just get rid of him and we'll keep going. And people would have been like, yeah, you're right. Like, this is a typical diva NBA player who wants to be in a bigger market and wants to be the star and doesn't want to play nice with others and all that. And it would have been easy to cast that in their favor and just say, hey, look, what was I supposed to do? Yeah, we went and got one of the best players in the league. He turned into the Wicked Witch of the West, and so now we left. But the way that they just kind of went about, no, we know. We have the answers. We don't, and we're not going to tell you what the answers are. We're going to do this our way. You just sit back, keep your mouth shut and your eyes open and watch and enjoy it. And it just didn't work. And so then when they needed someone to give them the benefit of the doubt, when they needed someone there to help them in their hour of need, when they needed someone to have their back, when they needed someone to give them the benefit of the doubt, they couldn't get it. No one was willing to do it because they weren't willing to do it for anybody else. And that's the lesson in this. And that's one that you hope all of them take forward, on their exits out, whether that exit happened in January or whether it happens in a year or two. That's got to be the message that these guys, all of them, in the entire circle, have to learn from this if they want to go forward and have a chance at more success elsewhere in the NBA.
Let's get to a couple Twitter questions. Let's thank BiteSquad.com or the Bite Squad app. Use the app to upload your information. You can pay the member fee, $5.99 for free delivery within a 4-mile radius per month. You can use TalkNorth as a promo code to get your first delivery free. They serve breakfast. They bring breakfast to you. They will bring lunch to your office. They'll bring you dinner. They'll bring you really good pizza. It'll show up in restaurant fashion. It'll be ready to eat. No dishes, no parking, no traffic, no weather worries. They make life really easy. BiteSquad.com, the Bite Squad app. Use Talk North for your first delivery free, and then keep using it because they support Talk North. From Darren Walker on Twitter, the NBA seems like it's becoming one big soap opera with players and teams in a state of disarray. Do you think this 24/7, 365 news cycle is just a temporary state of confusion or the new norm? I think it's what the NBA wants.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of the way it's been going for the last 5-6 years, I would say, and that is one of the things. Like the NBA has done a really, really good job of marketing its individual stars, and that's what has helped elevate this league to a global sensation that it is. I mean, people love the stars and love the individuals and really identify with them and follow them. And so that has helped the NBA, but one thing that it does do also is kind of encourage the sort of soap opera, as he puts it, that happens in free agency, that happens during the season as players trying to find the right fits and team up with their buddies and all of these things and try and control a lot more of the roster construction and movement and exert their influence a lot more than any other athlete does in any other sport. And so, but yes, I mean, some people get nauseated with it, and I understand that, but it also is very, very good for business for the NBA. I mean, you're going to talk about watching this summer in July when everything else in the world ceases to exist besides NBA free agency. Watch in September when Jimmy Butler was in the middle of his trade demands here. I mean, that was leading Sports Center. It wasn't anything to do with the NFL. So that's the way and that's the hook that the NBA has seen to differentiate itself from the rest of professional sports, and I think it has worked. And some people might get tired of it or want more of just like the team and the basketball version of things, but I don't think that's a blip. I think that's where we are and where we're going to be staying for quite a while.
From Eric Berg on Twitter, will there be concerted effort this offseason to have the players get together more often? If I remember correctly, they didn't really do anything last offseason.
Yeah, there will be. There's already been some young guys that were in last week starting to work out. Okogie and Keita, Bates Diop, and Jared Terrell, and a few others. And then I do know that the players themselves are taking it upon themselves to meet up several times in the summer for more group workouts. I think even Gorgui Dieng is planning on coming back from Senegal at some point this summer to join one of those workouts as well. And it is going to be important. It's something that the players sort of have to do mostly themselves because of collective bargaining agreement and all those things. But yeah, this is a team that did not see each other at all last summer. While Jimmy was going through his stuff, while Karl Anthony Towns had the contract, Wiggins just kind of floated away as he usually does. And there was no one really to lead any kind of group activities, but I think Towns is going to be more vocal in that this time around. Wiggins was actually in town last week too, which is a great sign, and a sign that he's going to be more engaged. And I do think Ryan Saunders and Gerson Rosas will be able to sort of encourage that and help facilitate that a little bit more, and they're going to have a little bit more of a focus on that part of it. And so that's very important for where this team has to go and for what has to happen next, because there could be a scenario where they come back and there's a lot of the same faces. If they are not able to make some big trades or big roster changes that way, and so they're going to need some of that familiarity and some of that chemistry built over the summer to help with that.
From Tim Naring, has Cat met Rosas face-to-face yet?
I don't know about face-to-face. I certainly know that they have talked a lot on the phone. Gerson Rosas is represented by CAA, which as is Cat, so there's some familiarity there. I believe that, and while I do know that, certainly Cat was made aware of the pick before it became public. So he was not consulted, but certainly kept abreast of the situation throughout the process. Just because he's the star player, and that's what you do for stars these days in the league. And so by all accounts, I have every reason to believe that he's supportive of that. Of course, we'll like to hear from him eventually to get his thoughts on things, but They have absolutely had a bunch of conversations, but I don't know if there's been an actual face-to-face meeting just yet.
Last topic, and we'll wrap it up. Thanks to all our listeners. We do appreciate it. From Adam Jones, how much longer will